Hey everyone, welcome back to Native Speakers Channel. I'm Johnny and I'm so excited you're here today. If you're new to our channel, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back. Today we have something really special for you. We're going to talk about networking in English. And trust me, this is one of those skills that can literally change your career and your life. I'm joined by my amazing co-host Sarah, and we're going to walk you through real networking conversations, must-know phrases, and insider tips that will make you feel confident at any event. So grab your notebook, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's conversation.
Thanks, Johnny. Hi, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be here today because networking is something I'm genuinely passionate about. I know it can feel not very safe, especially if English isn't your first language, but I promise you, by the end of this podcast, you'll have all the tools you need to walk into any networking event with confidence. So, are you ready to become a networking expert?
Absolutely. Let's get started.
So, Johnny, let's set the scene. Imagine you just walked into a professional networking event. There are about 50 people in the room, some standing in small groups, others by the refreshment table. What's the first thing you do?
That's a great question, Sarah. You know, the first thing I always do is take a deep breath and remind myself that everyone else is probably feeling a little nervous too. Then I scan the room looking for someone who's standing alone or seems approachable. The key is not to dive straight into a large group. That can be intimidating.
Exactly. I do the same thing. I look for people who are on their own or maybe just two people chatting casually. Those are the easiest conversations to join. But here's the thing. How do you actually start that conversation? What's your opening line?
Well, I usually go with something simple and friendly. I might say, "Hi, I'm Johnny. I just got here and don't know many people yet. Mind if I join you?" It's honest, it's friendly, and it immediately breaks the ice.
That's perfect. And you know what I love about that approach? You're being vulnerable and honest. You're admitting you don't know people, which actually makes you more relatable. People appreciate authenticity. I sometimes use a slightly different approach. I might comment on something about the event itself. For example, "Hi, is this venue amazing, isn't it? Have you been to one of these events before?"
Oh, I love that. Starting with an observation about your surroundings is brilliant because it's a neutral topic that anyone can respond to. It's not too personal, but it opens the door for conversation.
Exactly. And once you've broken the ice, the next step is the introduction. This is crucial. You want to introduce yourself clearly and memorably. Johnny, how do you typically introduce yourself at networking events?
Great question. I've learned that a good introduction has three parts: your name, what you do, and something interesting or unique about it. For example, I might say, "I'm Johnny, and I work in digital marketing. I specialize in helping small businesses grow their online presence, which I absolutely love because I get to work with so many different types of companies." See what I did there? I didn't just say I work in marketing. I gave context and showed enthusiasm.
That's such an important point. Enthusiasm is contagious. When you show genuine interest in what you do, other people become interested too. I do something similar. I might say, "Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a language teacher, and I help professionals improve their communication skills. The best part of my job is seeing people gain confidence and land their dream opportunities." By ending with the impact of your work, you make it more meaningful and memorable.
Absolutely. And here's another tip that I think is really valuable. After you introduce yourself, immediately ask the other person about themselves. People love talking about themselves, and it takes the pressure off you to keep talking. I usually say something like, "So, what brings you to this event?" Or, "What do you do?"
Perfect. And when they start telling you about themselves, this is where active listening becomes so important. You want to show genuine interest. That means making eye contact, nodding, and asking follow-up questions. For example, if someone says, "I'm a software developer," don't just say, "Oh, cool," and move on. Ask something like, "That's interesting. What kind of software do you develop?" Or, "How did you get into that field?"
Yes, Follow-up questions are gold in networking conversations. They show you're really listening and interested. And here's a phrase I use all the time that works wonders. Tell me more about that. It's simple, but it encourages people to open up and share more details.
I love that phrase. Another one I use frequently is, that sounds fascinating. What's the most challenging part of what you do? Or what's the most rewarding aspect of your work? These questions go deeper than surface level small talk and help you make a real connection.
Absolutely. And speaking of making connections, let's talk about small talk for a moment. I know some people think small talk is pointless, but in networking situations, it's actually really important. It's like a bridge that helps you get to more meaningful conversations. Sarah, what are your go-to small talk topics?
Oh, I have a few reliable ones. The weather is always safe. Yes, it's a cliche, but it works. I might say, crazy weather we've been having lately, right? Another great one is the venue or location. Have you been to this place before? I love the atmosphere here. I also like to ask about how their week or day is going. How has your week been? Keeping busy?
Those are all great. I also like to ask about how people heard about the event. I might say, so, how did you find out about this networking event? It's a natural question that can lead to discovering mutual connections or shared interests. And here's another important tip. When you're doing small talk, try to find common ground. If you both went to the same university, work in related fields, or even just both love coffee, mention it. Common ground creates instant rapport.
So true. And once you've established that initial connection through small talk, you can transition to more substantial topics. This is where networking becomes really valuable. You can start discussing industry trends, challenges in your field, or even potential collaborations. Johnny, how do you make that transition smoothly?
Good question. I usually look for natural opportunities in the conversation. For example, if someone mentions they're working on a challenging project, I might say, "That's interesting because I've been dealing with something similar, in my experience," and then share relevant insights. Or I might ask, "What trends are you seeing in your industry right now?" This shifts the conversation from personal small talk to professional discussion without it feeling forced.
That's such a smooth transition. And you know what's important during these deeper conversations? Offering value. Don't just talk about yourself or what you need. Think about how you can help the other person. Maybe you know someone they should meet, or you have information that could help them with a challenge they mentioned.
Exactly. And networking isn't about collecting business cards. It's about building genuine relationships where both people benefit. I always try to think, how can I help this person? Before thinking, what can I get from this person? That mindset shift makes all the difference.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a really important phrase in networking. I'd love to connect you with. This is powerful because it shows you're thinking about how to help them. For example, I'd love to connect you with my colleague who works in that field. Or I know someone who might have insights on that challenge you mentioned.
Yes, and here's another useful phrase. We should definitely stay in touch about this. It's a natural way to suggest continuing the conversation beyond the event. But here's the thing, Sarah. Eventually, you need to wrap up the conversation and move on to meet other people. How do you politely exit a conversation at a networking event?
Oh, this is so important because many people struggle with this. The key is to be polite but direct. You don't want to just disappear or make the other person feel like you're ditching them. I usually say something like, "It's been really great talking with you. I should probably mingle a bit more, but I'd love to continue this conversation. Can we exchange contact information?"
Perfect. That's polite, honest, and it opens the door for future contact. I also sometimes use what I call the introduction exit. I might say, "You know what? There's someone over there I think you'd really enjoy meeting. Let me introduce you." Then you introduce them to someone else, which actually adds value, and it gives you a natural way to move on.
That's brilliant. It's like you're doing them a favor while also gracefully exiting. Another phrase I use is, "I don't want to monopolize your time. I'm sure you want to meet other people too. But before I go, let's exchange information." This acknowledges that they probably want to network with others too, so it doesn't feel like you're just trying to get away.
Those are all great strategies. Now let's talk about exchanging contact information, because this is where a lot of people fumble. In today's digital age, what's the best way to exchange details?
Great question. It depends on the situation and the culture, but I usually ask, what's the best way to stay in touch with you? Do you prefer email, LinkedIn, or maybe we could exchange phone numbers? This gives them the choice and shows you respect their preferences.
I love that approach, and LinkedIn has become the go-to platform for professional networking. I often say, "Are you on LinkedIn? Let's connect there." Then I either search for them right there on my phone or hand them my phone so they can add themselves. It's quick and easy.
Yes, and here's a pro tip. When you connect with someone on LinkedIn right after meeting them, send a personalized message immediately. Don't just use the default connection request. I usually write something like, "Hi, Name. It was great meeting you at event name today. I really enjoyed our conversation about specific topic. Let's stay in touch."
That's such good advice. The personalized message makes you memorable and shows you are actually paying attention. It sets the foundation for a real professional relationship rather than just being another random connection.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about some common mistakes people make at networking events. Johnny, what do you see people doing wrong most often?
Oh boy, there are several. The biggest one is what I call card bombing, where someone just goes around collecting as many business cards as possible without having any real conversations. They're focused on quantity over quality, and it's obvious. Nobody likes feeling like they're just a number.
Yes, that's so true. Another mistake I see is when people only talk about themselves and never ask questions. Networking is a two-way street. If you dominate the conversation by talking about how great you are, you're not building a connection, you're just bragging.
Absolutely. And here's another one, being glued to your phone. I know we're all addicted to our devices, but at a networking event, you need to be present. If you're constantly checking your phone, you're missing opportunities to connect with people, and you're also sending the message that you're not really interested.
So true. And what about the hard sell? You know, when someone immediately tries to sell you their product or service within the first 2 minutes of meeting you, that's such a turnoff.
Oh, I hate that. Networking isn't about making immediate sales. It's about building relationships that might lead to opportunities down the road. If you're too pushy, people will avoid you. The key is to be genuinely interested in others, not just in what they can do for you.
Exactly. Let me share some more useful phrases that can help in different networking situations. If you want to join a group conversation that's already happening, you can say, "Hi, I hope you don't mind me joining. I overheard you talking about topic, and I find that really interesting."
That's great. And if you're introducing two people to each other, you might say, "Sarah, I'd like you to meet Alex. Alex works in sustainable energy, which I know is something you're interested in. Alex, Sarah is a language teacher who helps professionals with communication skills."
Perfect example. You've given both people context about each other, which gives them a starting point for their conversation. It's not just, "Sarah, meet Alex," with no information. Another useful phrase is when you want to recommend something. You could say, "Based on what you've told me, I think you'd really benefit from resource or connection or event."
Yes, and if someone offers to help you or connect you with someone, make sure you show appreciation. You might say, "That would be incredibly helpful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you thinking of me." Gratitude goes a long way in building professional relationships.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about follow-up, because this is where most networking efforts fail. You can have a great conversation at an event, but if you don't follow up, that connection will fade. Johnny, what's your follow-up strategy?
I'm so glad you brought this up because follow-up is crucial. I have the 24-hour rule. I always try to follow up within 24 hours of meeting someone. The conversation is still fresh in both our minds, and it shows I'm serious about staying connected. My follow-up usually includes 3 things: a greeting that references where we met, a specific detail from our conversation that shows I was listening, and a suggested next step.
That's perfect. Can you give us an example of what that might sound like?
Sure. Here's an email I might send. Hi, Maria. It was great meeting you at the Marketing Professionals Networking event yesterday. I really enjoyed hearing about your company's new sustainability initiative. That sounds like such meaningful work. I'd love to learn more about it. Would you be open to grabbing coffee sometime next week? I'm free Tuesday or Thursday afternoon if either of those works for you.
That's excellent. You've checked all the boxes. You reminded her where you met, you referenced something specific from your conversation, you showed genuine interest, and you proposed a concrete next step with specific options. This makes it easy for her to respond.
Exactly. And here's another important point. Don't wait for the other person to follow up. Take initiative. Even if you're junior or less experienced, you can still reach out. Most people appreciate proactive communication.
So true. And when you do meet up for that coffee or lunch, come prepared. Have some questions ready. Think about how you might be able to help them, and most importantly, be yourself. Authenticity is what creates lasting professional relationships.
Absolutely. Now, I want to address something that many English learners worry about. What if your English isn't perfect? What if you make mistakes while networking? Sarah, what would you say to someone nervous about this?
Oh, this is such an important question. First of all, I want to say that making mistakes is completely normal and okay. Native speakers make mistakes too. The most important thing is communication, not perfection. If you can convey your message and understand others, you're doing great. In my experience, people are usually impressed when they learn you're networking in a second or third language. It shows courage and dedication.
That's so true, and honestly, most people are focused on the content of what you're saying, not on whether your grammar is perfect. If you stumble over a word or aren't sure how to say something, you can simply say, "Sorry, English isn't my first language. What I'm trying to say is," and then explain it in simpler terms.
Exactly. And here's a useful phrase if you don't understand something. "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" Or, "Could you say that in a different way? I want to make sure I understand correctly." People respect this because it shows you care about understanding them properly.
Yes, and if you're really nervous about your English at a networking event, you can prepare some phrases in advance. Practice your self-introduction at home. Write down some questions you can ask. Have a few small talk topics ready. This preparation will boost your confidence significantly.
Such good advice. And remember, networking events are actually great opportunities to practice English in a real-world setting. You're learning while you're making professional connections. That's double the value.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about different types of networking events because the approach can vary slightly. There are formal conferences, casual meetups, industry-specific events, and even online networking. Sarah, how do you adjust your approach based on the type of event?
Great question. At formal conferences, I tend to be more professional in my language and demeanor. I might say, "Good afternoon, I'm Sarah Chen from ABC Language Institute. I'm particularly interested in innovative teaching methodologies." At casual meetups, I'd be more relaxed. "Hey, I'm Sarah. I teach English and I'm always looking to meet people in the education space."
Perfect examples. The key is reading the room and matching the energy and formality level of the event. At a casual happy hour networking event, being too formal might seem like you're stiff or out of place, but at a professional conference, being too casual might seem unprofessional.
Exactly. And online networking has its own set of rules. In virtual networking events, you need to be even more intentional about engaging because it's easier for people to just sit back and not participate. I always turn on my camera, use the chat function to make comments or ask questions, and I'm not shy about using the breakout rooms to have one-on-one conversations.
Yes, online networking requires more active participation. You can't just rely on body language and proximity like you can in person. You need to verbally engage more. And here's a tip for online networking. Have a professional background and good lighting. First impressions matter just as much online as they do in person.
So true. Now, before we wrap up, let's do a quick role play to show our listeners how all these phrases and strategies come together in a real networking conversation. Johnny, let's pretend we just met at a marketing networking event. I'll start. "Hi, this venue is really impressive. Have you been to one of these events before?"
Hi there. Actually, this is my first time at one of their events, but I'm really excited to be here. I'm Johnny, by the way.
"Nice to meet you, Johnny. I'm Sarah. So what brings you here today?"
Well, I work in digital marketing, specifically helping small businesses with their online presence, and I'm always looking to connect with other professionals in the field and learn about new trends. What about you? What do you do?
That's really interesting. I'm a language teacher, and I help professionals improve their communication skills. Actually, I work with a lot of marketing professionals who want to be more confident in their presentations and client interactions.
Oh, wow, that sounds incredibly valuable. I can definitely see how communication skills are crucial in marketing. Tell me more about that. What are the most common challenges your students face?
Great question. Many of them struggle with speaking confidently in meetings or giving presentations to clients. They have the technical skills, but they don't always know how to communicate their ideas effectively. It's fascinating work because I get to see them transform. What about you? What's the most challenging aspect of what you do?
I'd say the biggest challenge is keeping up with how fast the digital landscape changes. What worked 6 months ago might not work today, but that's also what keeps it exciting. Speaking of which, have you seen any interesting trends in professional development or corporate training lately?
Actually, yes. There's been a huge shift toward more interactive, practical learning rather than traditional lectures. People want skills they can apply immediately. It sounds like you'd be really interested in that since you work with small businesses. They probably need practical solutions too, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly what they need. This has been such a great conversation, Sarah. I'd love to stay in touch and maybe continue this discussion. Are you on LinkedIn?
I am. Let's definitely connect. Here, I can find you on my phone right now. How do you spell your last name?
It's Johnnson. And I'll send you a message on LinkedIn with some resources I think you might find helpful for your students.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. It's been great talking with you, Johnny. I should probably mingle a bit more, but I'm looking forward to staying in touch.
Likewise, enjoy the rest of the event, Sarah.
All right, everyone. That was a quick example of how these phrases and strategies come together naturally in a real networking conversation. Did you notice how we used many of the techniques we discussed?
Exactly. We started with a simple observation about the venue, we introduced ourselves with context about what we do, we asked follow-up questions, we looked for common ground, and we wrapped up by exchanging contact information and promising to follow up. These techniques work whether you're at a local meetup or an international conference.
And remember, networking is a skill that improves with practice. The first few events might feel uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
So true. And here's my final piece of advice. Be genuine. Don't try to be someone you're not. People can sense authenticity, and that's what creates real, lasting professional relationships. If you focus on being genuinely interested in others and finding ways to help them, the networking will take care of itself.
That's perfect advice to end on. So everyone, I want to encourage you to put these phrases and strategies into practice. Find a networking event in your area or online. Prepare your introduction and go for it. You might be surprised at the amazing connections you make and the opportunities that come from them.
Absolutely. And remember, everyone at that networking event is human. They're probably feeling a little nervous too. By being friendly, authentic, and genuinely interested in others, you'll stand out in the best way possible.
Well, that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Native Speakers Channel. We hope you found these networking tips and phrases helpful.
If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, leave us a comment below. We love hearing from you.
And don't forget to practice these phrases before your next networking event. Maybe even practice with a friend or language partner. The more you practice, the more confident you'll feel.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep networking, and keep improving your English. We believe in you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. See you in the next episode.
Bye for now.